Welcome into the Alabama Bass Trail Podcast presented by Phoenix Boats. I'm Kay Donaldson, the director of the Alabama Bass Trail, and your host for this week's podcast. This is the podcast for the week of January the 13th, 2025, or the post-Snowmageddon podcast. For those of you who don't know, not tuned in, Alabama received somewhere between 3 and 5 inches of snow over the weekend, Thursday night into Friday. And in Alabama, that pretty much brings everything to a screeching halt, unless you work for the Alabama Bass Trail, because you work from home and you still go to work when you work for the Alabama Bass Trail, especially when there is a tournament this week. This is ABT 100 week. It is the time. It is time to I guess, get focused and get ready for the season, because guess what? It's coming whether or not we are ready or not. So it's going to be a lot of fun, though. Looking forward to it. We did have some cold weather. You may remember last year at the ABT 100 at Logan Martin, we blasted off in 14-degree weather. And that's about what we saw over the weekend. I think lows got down into the 19, 18 range, but it warmed up nicely on Sunday. I think it was like 52 degrees and sunny on Sunday. It was actually really nice. I had a little bit of shopping I needed to do to get ready for this week. So I was able to do that. It was actually pretty comfortable. So looking forward to it. Looks like we're going to have a few cold mornings this week, but as we get closer to Friday and Saturday, it is going to warm up into the 50s with chance of rain, 30 to 40% chance of rain coming in on Friday afternoon into Saturday morning. Looks like it could be about over at takeoff at 7 o'clock, but then may come back in that afternoon. So it's still way, 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 way early to start predicting what Saturday's temperatures and weather is going to look like. But we do know this. It's not going to be perfect. It never is on the Alabama Bass Trail. And if you're waiting on perfect weather to fish the Alabama Bass Trail, well, I'm sorry, but you will never get a chance to fish with us. It just doesn't happen that way. So, unfortunately, guys, um, all of my devices are connected. I have 3 cell phones sitting here, laptop, big computer sitting here, and all of them are connected. And I did have a phone call coming in, so I apologize for that. But we are going to talk about ABT 100 on Lake Gunnersville in Scottsboro, Alabama, coming up this weekend. 100 teams, $100,000, and over 100% payback going out to these guys here this week. So we're going to be posting one of the full roster of anglers, where they're from, everything on our social media channels this week. So please make sure that you tune into that to kind of see who all is going to be participating in this tournament or the series this year in 2025, kicking off at Lake Gunnersville. Then we're going down to Lake Eufaula in June, and then we'll finish back up on the Tennessee River at Wilson Lake, a lake we've never been to for an Alabama Bass Trail tournament. So I know probably if you heard the podcast last week, you heard Luke and I talking about some of the competitors and some of these Tennessee River rats that are going to be fishing this tournament, as well as the other 2 on the series. But we're going to go ahead and publish the entire roster so that you can see, and so you can kind of pick your fantasy team. That is one thing I wish we had, was a fantasy fishing app that we could do for the Alabama Bass Trail. Maybe someone who's listening to this podcast knows how to do that and will volunteer their time to put together a fantasy fishing on the Alabama Bass Trail. But I do want to say it's been 77 days since we had our last event on Wheeler Lake. And I don't care, anytime you schedule something like this, you think all the time that you have to prepare. And then when you kind of whittle out Thanksgiving and you kind of whittle out a week for Christmas, because most people in our industry take that week between Christmas and New Year's off, you really kind of lose some time. And then you throw in a snowstorm, which we should always consider because it's always going to happen. But, historically, looking back over ABT, we've really gotten more snow in February than we have in January. So it's always a Russian roulette when you're trying to schedule bass tournaments a year in advance. So, but 77 days is how long it has been since we had an Alabama Bass Trail Tournament on Wheeler Lake. Just to give you a little bit of background for those of you who may have just started tuning into our podcast, the Alabama Bass Trail 100 is a smaller field. It's 100 boats, 2 people per boat. A team can consist of 1 pro and 1 amateur. There can't be 2 pro anglers, meaning a Bass Pro Tour, a Bassmaster Elite Series, an MPFL angler. You can't have 2 of those anglers in 1 boat. They would have to fish with an amateur angler. And that's kind of funny when you talk about it, because when you talk about, okay, Russ Lane is going to be fishing the Alabama Bass Trail 100, but he's fishing with Chris Rutland. I don't know anyone in the state of Alabama or in the Southeast that would consider Chris Rutland an amateur angler. It's just almost laughable. And then when you have Scott Canterbury fishing with Terry Stevens, same thing. You've got Justin Hamner, and he's fishing with Waylon Mullis. They've won a tournament on Pickwick in the Alabama Bass Trail 100. Had an exceptional year this past year on the Alabama Bass Trail 100. He's Bassmaster Classic champion. So, when you look at that, Alex Davis, Derek Hicks, it's almost unfair to call these guys amateur, but that's how the Alabama Bass Trail 100 works. It's $1,000 per tournament, so $3,000 buy-in entry fee for these guys. We're paying over $300,000. We pay $100,000 at each event. And this year, it goes public on June the 11th, and we sold out in the wee morning hours of June the 13th. So it took just over about 39 hours for us to fill up. In this series. It is the 5th year of the Alabama Bass Trail 100. It is probably one of the series that a lot of guys would like to see more tournaments in. They really would like to see more of a 4 or 5 tournament series, but right now it is at 3 tournaments. So we'll see how that progresses as the year and the kind of the economy settles down and we see what that's going to look like. We'll be making some decisions about that moving forward. So, but unless you've been under a rock, if you're in the fishing industry and unless you've been under a rock, you've had to hear how great Guntersville is fishing. Up until the Black Friday tournament, we had a 34-pound bag, 5 bags over 30 pounds, multiple 25-plus pound bags. Guys, I'm sorry. It just is the way it is. It's tournament week and the phones are ringing, and I'm glad they're ringing. That is a situation a lot of people would love to have, but unfortunately, when you're recording a podcast, it's not what you want to happen. So I'll see if I can't cut that off, and maybe we won't have any more distractions. But again, Guntersville 30-pound bags. You could see it all over social media. I'm being texted, called, tagged in posts about these 30-pound bags. It has changed a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I mean, as you start getting into the deep winter time frame, that bite does tend to change. Do I think it is still going to be a heck of a tournament? Yes. Yes, I do. I think everything is setting up right. We are going to have some cold mornings Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday-ish. It's going to get up into the high 40s. Thursday, Friday. Friday, it could even crest that 50, 52 mark. Scheduled to be 52, 54 on Saturday with some rain coming in. But the lows are going to stay in that 32 to 36 range. So as small as it is a warming trend from what we saw this past weekend throughout the week. So hopefully the fish will get active and we'll see a really good tournament on Guntersville. We'll have 45 trackers out on boats on Saturday morning. So we'll have a good number, almost half the field will be able to track on the iPads and see where they are. We'll talk about some of those teams that are going to have cameras on them and trackers later on in just a little bit. But I want to give you a little bit of a history lesson on the Alabama Bass Trail. The first tournament ever on the Alabama Bass Trail was February 1st, 2014, and it was at none other than Lake Guntersville. It was out of the state park, so a little bit different as far as geographically located, but 200 boats took the water that day. And that week, we had 3 days of single-digit weather. Never got above 9 degrees for 3 solid days. And being young and in the fishing industry, it really didn't sink into me what that meant until I got to Lake Guntersville that Friday. And I was hearing stories of how half of the creeks are frozen over and people are having to use their trolling motors and rods to kind of break through the ice. It never really dawned on me about boat ramps, icing over, or we needed salt and sand. It was my very first tournament to ever be in charge of. So I got us to that point, and that stuff just never really dawned on me that that's something I should be worried about. The adrenaline was kicking in. I think it was 19, 20 degrees the morning that we blasted off. Um, it, it, it's almost like, I hate to even compare this to this, but it's almost like seeing your child for the first time, the adrenaline that you have going. It was pretty special for me. So February 1st, 2014, it was 2 weeks prior to the Bassmaster Classic being there in 2014. The live was popular. The weigh-in, it crashed our server. We didn't have the technology that we have now. Nobody had the technology that we have now. But it was really a cool day. And at the end of the day, Brandon Staggs and Jerry Wright hoisted the big check, the $10,000 check. Their weight was 3202, and they were the first ever champions on the Alabama Bass Trail. The funny story is that weight, that record weight on the Alabama Bass Trail has stood the test of time for 11 years. I think the big storyline going into this weekend is, will it be standing after Saturday? I know there are a lot of anglers that hope that they can crest that 3202 bag and take home the $25,000 payday for an Alabama Bass Trail 100. But it is going to be it's going to be an exciting weekend. 100 teams are going to go out there and give it everything they have. I wouldn't expect any different. The anticipation, I think, has been so high because it did sell out so fast. It is Guntersville in January. We've seen BFLs, we've seen Toyota Series, we've seen all of those in the early part of the year, late January, early February, and we've seen those monster bags. We've never been here this early, so it's going to be really interesting. There's a lot of anticipation for that, a lot of anticipation since we sold out so quickly. A lot of anticipation about weather. When you're looking at the long range forecast and realizing that 1 or 2 degrees totally changes things. I'll also say in 2015, the second time we were on Guntersville for the first event of the year was February the 28th, the last day of the month, February 28th, 2015. And on Wednesday, between Wednesday and Thursday, we received 13 inches of snow on Guntersville in Scottsboro at a Goose Pond for our second year. So Guntersville's always kind of given us weather issues. So I guess anticipation is high for that as well. It's not been great to us. So as of 10:45-ish on Monday, what is the weather calling for? Friday, 45 degrees, 30% chance of rain on Friday. That's late Friday night going into Saturday morning. Saturday high of 54 degrees with a 40% chance of rain on Saturday. So all in all, if you look back at last year when we blasted off at 14 degrees, if we're at 36 degrees, I think that's a heck of a lot better, 22 degrees better than where we were last year. I think everyone can deal with that. Most anglers say they just hate rain at blast off. So, and I don't disagree with that, especially if I'm going to have to be on the boat calling boat numbers. I don't want rain at blast off. But either way, we are having a tournament on Guntersville, 100 boats, 200 anglers out there in team format. Looking forward to just getting there and enjoying kicking off this season, the 12th season of the regular series Alabama Bass Trail, and the 5th season. And that is almost, I can't even grasp that we're in the 5th season of the Alabama Bass Trail 100. And I don't know a better way to kick off the season, especially the Alabama Bass Trail 100 season, other than having your 2024 Anglers of the Year, Josh Chapple and Paul Davis. They are going to be our guests this week. They're going to talk about a brief discussion about the 2024 season. We covered that back in November. But we're going to talk about their history on the Alabama Bass Trail. I made a comment last week. I got a little bit of heat for it. So I'm just going to say, I made a comment last week that I think some people really don't give this team the credit they deserve. And we're going to talk about some of their history on the Alabama Bass Trail. I can't speak about other trails, don't really know how they've performed on other trails. But when you look at their history on the Alabama Bass Trail, they are the only team that have accomplished all of these things. And we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. So you're going to want to stay tuned. You're going to want to hear this because I think you're going to find it just as unique and pretty dadgum cool as I do. So y'all stay tuned. We're on the Alabama Bass Trail podcast presented by Phoenix Boats. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Research and development is more than just time in the shop for us. It's time out here. Sweating the details. Making boats that work as well in the real world as they do on paper. From our R&D team to our anglers on the water, we have the knowledge and passion to build you the finest fishing platform in the world.
Welcome back to the Alabama Bass Trail podcast presented by Phoenix Boats. And as I promised you in the first segment, your 2024 Anglers of the Year for the Alabama Bass Trail 100, Mr. Josh Chapple, Mr. Paul Davis, welcome to the Alabama Bass Trail podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Paul, you locked up there for just a minute. So ABT 100 Anglers of the Year, it's been 77 days since Wheeler to the time we're going to be on Guntersville. Has it sunk in? I mean, that's quite an accomplishment.
I saw my belt still in my den, so I look at it every now. It's sunk in. I mean, it was something we worked for a while. So I'm happy about it still.
Well, we talked a little bit off air. I want to really drill home to the people watching the podcast or listening to the podcast what that actually means. I mean, you guys had a 5th, a 9th, and a 24th place finish. Wheeler Lake, you've had a top 3 there before. So it's not like it's not known to you, but a 24th place finish there. There was an 11-point gap between you and first place going into Wheeler. You guys came back, won the Angler of the Year on Wheeler Lake. But I want to talk about the past 4 years. And like I said, the first year, come on, like, I don't even think you can count that. I mean, those guys had 2 wins. They had a win at Eufaula. They had a win at Guntersville. And then they had a 10th place finish at Lay. So average of top 5 is what it took to get the Angler of the Year belt that year. Second year, it took an average place of 11th place to win Angler of the Year. 2023, it took an average of 10th place in 3 events to get Angler of the Year. And in 2024, it took an average of 13th place. How realistic is it that you guys can come back on Guntersville, Eufaula, and Wilson and repeat?
It'll be hard to do against that. But it'll be a challenge for us.
So for the Alabama Bass Trail 100, we're going into our 5th year. You guys signed up year 1. You've been with us every year going into the 5th year. Alabama Bass Trail 100 is not cheap. It's a $3,000 entry fee. And I would say equal or more expenses if you go and practice the way you guys do, because I know you take 2 boats and you spend at least 2 days there. You room with some people, you get a house, whatever. You talk about the cooking and all that. So why is it that you choose to fish the Alabama Bass Trail 100?
For me, it's the condensed field with a larger entry fee. So, I mean, if you do well in 1 or 2 of them, yes, you can make some money, but I mean, to me, it's the competition. I just think, like, you take our age, I mean, it's as close to an Elite Series field. Half the Elite Series fish it. It's as close to an Elite Series professional field. I mean, you could call it a professional field because that's really what it is. For me, that's it. And then, before the tournament, cooking, having fun, that's a lot of fun too. But I mean, for me, it's the competition.
All right, Paul.
Yeah, it's definitely, trying to compete against, I mean, that feels probably I mean, it is the best in the United States. I mean, they're all hammers in that field. So, I mean, just trying to compete against them and, the fellowship with our buddies, the night or two before and hanging out. The tournament's just the icing on the top, really. It's just, we like to fish. We'd rather fish fewer tournaments and fish bigger tournaments than go somewhere every weekend, just fishing the wildcats and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
we've grown to like it.
Talk about the field. Just looking through the past 5 years, we've had Bassmaster Elite Angler of the Year, Gerald Swindle, Bassmaster Elite Angler of the Year, Scott Canterbury, Forest Wood Cup winner, Clint Davis, Forest Wood Cup winner, Justin Atkins, Bassmaster Classic champion, Justin Hamner. That is a stacked field. I mean, you've had Jordan Lee, you've had Matt Lee, all of those guys have fished this trail. And you guys have been right there with, Lay Lake. I want to talk about this because I mentioned something on the podcast last week and I kind of ruffled a few feathers. I just talked to Luke. He ruffled a few too. So I was glad to see I wasn't the only one. I made the comment that I feel like y'all's team is a little underrated, but I forget that I study this. This is what I do. And when I got to looking, you've commented to me this before, Paul. Y'all have a third place finish at Wheeler. So you're on the podium at Wheeler. In the South, you have a second place finish and a win and maybe more. So you've been on the podium in the South Division multiple times. You've got a podium finish at the championship on Logan Martin, a third place finish there. You have a third place finish in the ABT 100s. And now you have an Angler of the Year finish in the ABT 100s. I don't think that gets enough play. Like when we're picking and everybody's talking about who to watch, you guys have proven like everywhere we go, north, south, and 100s, you got to talk about y'all. Do you think that?
I feel like we're pretty consistent everywhere. Like there's a lot of times we can't get enough to win. It's a little bit more.
Okay, I'm losing. Yeah, I lost him.
Did
Josh,
you?
I'm gonna let you go ahead and answer that while Paul reconnects with us.
I mean, I think we both just want to be kind of in the conversation. I mean, that's not like you're not going to dominate down around here. I mean, if you do, I mean, you may have a couple of years that a bunch of things go right and this and that and other, but I mean, just to be competitive everywhere we go and not, oh, they catch them at home at Logan Martin. To be honest with you, I didn't ever think we'd win there. We don't fish there much anymore. We travel. And it seems like usually our best finishes are places we don't know very well because we don't know any better. We may figure something out that nobody else sees, or it may not be the best thing that's going, but we're comfortable enough doing it and making it work for us. I think that's come from a little, actually the years of experience with the ABT. We try not to we try not to force things, and I've noticed, and I'm pretty sure Heath has, when we've tried to force something, it usually don't work out. And but yeah, I mean, just to be in the conversation with the best on the planet, that's all that matters.
Paul, you can go ahead and tell me what you were saying because I lost you there.
I can't remember where I cut out at, but what was the question again?
Just talking about your history, like I study this and I see that y'all have been competitive in the North and the South and in the 100s. Do you feel like that when we start talking about picks and we start talking about the teams to follow and the teams that we should look out for, you guys should be in that conversation pretty much North, South, East, and West?
Yeah, I mean, I think like I said, where I was saying, we're pretty consistent. Sometimes I feel like we can't. It's hard to get over the hump. I mean, it's ABT. It's the best of the best. So it's so hard to win one. You got to have your days. Got to go perfect, and then you got to have some luck on top. I feel like, but yeah, we practice for them and put in our time. And like I say, we try not to fish a tournament every weekend, just going somewhere else, which we have in the past,
Mm-hmm.
and we try to devote a little bit more time to it. And yeah, I guess I don't think of us being that good, but I guess we've had some pretty good finishes.
I would say so. Just looking at your history, and there's not a ton of teams that we can really compare north, south, and 100s. You've got Mark and Tim. They fished them. They're not fishing them this year. The schedule obviously didn't align with what they enjoy doing. But when you look at the number of teams that we can do that comparison in, no one else has ever done that. No one else has ever had a podium finish on the 100s, north, south, and now have an Angler of the Year title in the 100. So, to my knowledge, unless someone can debunk my math or debunk my history research, you guys are the only ones that I can say have ever done that. So, congratulations. It's a pretty huge feat.
Thank you.
I know you fished with us in 2017. You fished with us in 2022 on both North and South. Couldn't find those records. I know you had a 19th place finish on Guntersville in 2021 at the 100, very first year. How much experience do each of you have on Lake Guntersville?
I've got a little bit fishing in college, some, but not a lot. We don't have a lot there.
Josh?
Go up there a couple times a year, maybe, go up there on a Sunday to have fun. I mean, that's about all I've got. And then when we fish the north or when a 100 goes there, that's it. We don't have a lot of experience on TVAs at all.
Okay. Have you been on Guntersville since the ABT 100 at Wheeler?
I went yesterday.
Okay.
I have.
You haven't. All right.
Yeah.
What's practice going to look like for you guys? I mean, let's talk about this. Snow this past weekend. Thank God it was this past weekend. Gonna be cold Monday, Tuesday. Gonna start warming up Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Still gonna have decent temperatures on Saturday. Gonna get a little bit of rain. Are you excited about that weather pattern? What are your thoughts?
The experience, the weather pattern doesn't matter. They're going to catch them anyway. Yesterday, when I put the boat in, the water temperature was really cold, a little colder than I expected, but it's not going to matter. You go look at the weights, and conditions just don't matter with this group. So, weather just doesn't matter. You got to figure them out if you're going to compete.
Mr. Paul?
Yeah, I'm glad it's warming up some, but like I say, it's Guntersville. It's best lake in the southeast, so they're going to smash. Some people are going to smash them.
I think one of the things I'm interested in seeing, we saw Justin Bussey Ben Webb have a 25-pound bag or so back in June. Can they do that in mid-January? It's going to be interesting to me to see if that plays out. Donnie Beck, Tony Harvey, I know you guys have fished very closely to them at times on Guntersville. Does the location of Goose Pond change how you practice?
Probably not. Nah.
I don't think so.
Okay. How long will you practice for this event? What does practice look like for each of you?
Couple of days, daylight till dark. Or till you got to get off the water. Whatever, was it 5 now or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much what we do. We just split up and really don't talk about it a whole lot until we're done, because we really don't want to put something in each other's head, and then we just kind of game plan Friday night and kind of just go fishing. try to adjust as we can.
A lot of times we game plan on the drive Saturday morning to the ramp. So,
I like it. I do the same thing. Funny, Luke,
yeah.
Darian, Jason, and we all do the same thing. That's kind of how we do it. Paul, I'll ask you this: how has forward-facing sonar, live scope, how has that changed the way you practice, or has it changed the way you practice?
Yeah, I mean, it's changed because I mean, if you pay attention, I mean, it's you know, for 3/4 of the year, it seems like it dominates. So we've just now kind of started to. I mean, I guess you could say old school, but if you don't do it now, you're going to get beat. Especially this time of year. So I'm sure we'll do it a good bit in practice, and um, you know, it's probably not our favorite thing to do, or not what we think we're the best at, but we're not hard headed enough to just not do, just not do it. We'll have to do it.
And I may totally be talking out of turn. I may be totally off base with what I'm about to say, but in the times we've watched you guys on live, we've seen that you do like to fish relatively shallow. Is that yes or no?
Well,
Just
I think the conditions in the ABT call for it most of the time. I mean, it's most of the time in the spring, on the Coosa River, and you can compete that way. But there's certain situations that we've gotten burned on. The championship at Jordan, completely missed it. You know, few other tournaments that we just probably a little bit stubborn on. But like I said, sometimes we like to think we can find something that maybe not the best thing going that we make work for us at that time. So for us, but it has changed. I mean, it's been a part of. I was thinking about the other day. Forward facing sonar has been a part of most of the money we've won this year in some form or fashion. So I mean, it's not like we're like you said, we're not hard headed. We just don't. That's not what we're going to show up and predominantly do. I mean, it's not. I mean, at some points you got to go back to who you are as a bass fisherman and do what you're really good at, but try to be open minded and versatile at the same time. Otherwise, you're just not going to compete. You're not going to.
Paul, anything to add there?
Yeah, I mean it kind of takes the rod out of one person's hand, for the most part. That's something that probably gets in our head a little bit. We want to both be fishing, but
Mm-hmm.
but um we've tried, I guess, which we haven't fished much lately, but we kind of got where we can double team it now, a little bit, and which helps. So that was one of the big hiccups for us, because basically it's just a one man game, and then you just feel like the other person is just useless, So
Mm-hmm. I wanted to ask, we see this, teams that tend to have the success that you guys have a key to that. So is there a key to y'all's success, a key to being a good team tournament team, I guess?
I mean, I think sometimes, like, and I hate that this is going to sound bad, but sometimes we trust the other one a little too much. Where do you want to go? Or what about this? And it's just like, okay, let's go. It doesn't matter. I mean, we just try to make, I mean, truthfully, in my brain, all we got to do is make 5 good stops in a day. And it's versus, you probably make 100 the way we fish, but all you need is 5 good ones. And sometimes you only need 2 good ones, 3 good ones. And it just, a lot of times I think that's the key is trust and being able, not being stubborn and adjusting throughout the day. I think we're real good at that.
Okay. Paul?
yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, we both try to do different stuff in practice, maybe different parts of the lake, and um, I don't know. I mean, we just fished together for so long, I mean, it's I don't know. It's just hard to say. It's we trust our guts and we trust each other, So um,
That's cool.
yeah.
I can't believe neither one of you said it's just because we're awesome.
Um,
God,
Not that.
I mean,
It's not
can't
that.
believe you didn't say that. I'm just devastated that you didn't say that. I'm going to ask you what do you think the winning weight will be? I know you haven't been on the water. I know you've had to see all the weights. from the Black Friday tournament. People are talking about it. They're tagging me in post. I think the weights have gone down a little bit from that, but 3202 is a record on the Alabama Bass Trail. It was established in 2014. It's been here for 11 years. Do you see that weight record being beat this weekend?
Could be.
It could be. I think high 20s, 27 to 29, but I don't fish up there enough to know. So I don't know, but yeah, it could very well be broken. Maybe if it warms up some.
Chap, you got a guess?
I'm with him. I mean, upper 20s, 30. I mean, I think the weight record could be broken. I mean, you're going to have a little bit less pressure. And usually when it gets cold like this, if somebody figures it out, they really catch them. I mean, was the lake not froze over? Was the lake not froze over when they set that record?
Yes.
Half of it? Yes.
I said this in the first part of the podcast. For people who don't know Alabama Bass Trail history, the first tournament was February 1st, 2014. We had 3 days that week that it didn't get over 9 degrees. So we fished in way colder. It was 19 or 20 when we blasted off. It got up to 38 degrees that day. I think water temperature hovered around that 43, 44 mark. Most people said if we can get above 45. But they had like a 6 something in their bag. They didn't have the big fish of the day. But they did. It was 3202 was their winning weight. First ever tournament. So crazy to me is we've been back there and we've had 28 bags over 20, or 38 bags over 20 in 2018. But we've never eclipsed that weight. And it just seems crazy to me that it has really stood for 11 years. So,
well, there's not many lakes on the trail that can produce that.
No,
Pickwick.
Absolutely not.
That's about it.
What
Eufaula had a chance.
Eufaula had a chance. Yeah, Eufaula had a chance. We had one year down there. I think the year that Rex passed away in 2019, we had 20 bags or maybe 24 bags over 20 pounds, which was a phenomenal year. And then something happened and it just that went away almost immediately. The next year, we only had like 5 or 6 bags over 20 pounds. When Shane and Tim won, I want to say it was around that 28, 29 pound bag that won there too. So Eufaula, I tend to think maybe it's on the upswing. I surely hope so when we get down there. We're going to have a chance to see it in May and June next year. So I have a feeling that's why Shane Powell, Tim Fox is fishing the ABT 100s this year because of that June date down in Eufaula. Any guess for a big fish weight?
8, 9, something like that, I guess. Could be a big one. Could be a double digit. Could be.
Yeah, I fished a college tournament down there. I think it was early February. It was cold though. And Matt Lee had 11 something that day, but that's been 15 years ago. So I don't know.
8 or 9 would be a good one. I'd love to see a double digit. 1036 is the history on the Alabama Bass Trail. That's our heaviest fish. It was weighed in at Pickwick. Logan Johnson and Jeremy Christian weighed in 2018 on the coldest day until this past year on Pickwick. People can say what they want to about Logan Martin last year. It was cold. But Pickwick this year, 2024, was the coldest I've ever been on the Alabama Bass Trail. Absolutely miserable. Could not get out of the wind. It was horrible. Let's talk a little bit about Alabama Bass Trail South. You guys are signed up for it again. Is there a lake on that list that's calling you out? You got Martin in February, Logan back in March 29th on Logan Martin Lake, April 26th, Alabama River, May 17th, Lake Eufaula, and then June 21st, Lay Lake. Any one of those standing out to you guys?
I'd like to do good Alabama River because it always has our number down there. So
that has been your nemesis the last 2 years for sure, but it has been your nemesis. Alabama River, Cooters Pond, April 26th. Worried about that one. That's one we always get a ton of water about that time. We've had
Mhm.
some really tough tournaments there. Will you have any water to pre-fish in, and will it be 20 feet high by the time we get ready to go? It's
That
always
place
the
is different.
question. It is. The Corps of Engineers just kill me on that lake. They give me gray hair. They are the reason that I have to spend money on dye for my hair. Is the Corps of Engineers and 1,100 anglers. So these next two questions are just fun questions, so we get to know you a little bit better. Paul, what is your favorite movie of all times?
Mhm. I
Rain
mean,
Man?
no,
You're
Tombstone.
kind of like Rain Man, so
I don't know. Maybe probably this is gonna sound funny, but probably Home Alone. 'Cause I just like I saw it in the movie theaters when I was a kid, and I got my daughters into watching it, and they want to watch it 10 times over the holidays. So
it
um,
is one of the best movies.
yeah, the
It
original,
is.
yeah, big movie watcher myself. So.
That that house just sold, I think. The house that was filmed in, I think, just sold. So, which I thought was kind of cool. Josh, how about you?
Tombstone.
Oh. So now I will
Or
not be able to get out of my head if Chap is thinking, I'm your Huckleberry, or I'll be your Huckleberry. That was my favorite line in the whole movie of Tombstone. Good
it
movie.
was a good
Good,
cast.
good movie. All right. Next question. Favorite food, hands down, favorite food.
That's a hard one.
That is a hard one.
We eat a lot of good food. I don't know.
A lot of good food.
I like.
Y'all are foodies though. I mean, y'all are foodies. You do the saltwater fishing, you do all that, you get into the snapper and all that stuff. So seafood,
Yeah, I like seafood. I like fried fish. Anytime.
okay.
I mean,
It's hard to beat fried fish.
yeah, fresh yellowfin tuna on the grill. Um, I like Italian food too, but I like all food, so it doesn't really count.
Chap, what about you?
I'm with him. Fried fish. I mean, I like Mexican food a lot. I mean, I like everything. I mean, there's sushi. It don't matter. I just most of all of it I like. Very few things I don't.
I'm a big Mexican food person. Like I believe I could eat it 7 days a week. I'm also a Jack's breakfast person. And I'm a Chick-fil-A lunch person. Now I'll do
Hmm.
some chicken minis in the morning from Chick-fil-A too. Hard to compete with that gravy and biscuit from Jack's though. If I have to, yeah, just saying. Those are kind of my faves. But Mexican food to me is just like kryptonite.
There's a couple of restaurants on another note that these cities we visit, there aren't near Pell City where we have to stay. There's some certain restaurants that we think have good luck, so we have to eat those and not before the tournament.
What is that?
I can't tell you that.
It's just between us. So I know
There's
one
one in
of them is
particular, but
there's I know there's like a gas station
one
that
of them's
has
on your fall.
breakfast. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, there's not that many. So it's
No,
either got to be Sam's or Cajun Corner. They do have some really good Mexican restaurants there too, though. Jalisco, Old Mexico. So is it Jordan that has the gas station that has the breakfast?
yeah. What's that
The
called?
deli?
Yeah.
Kim's
What's that
Corner.
called, Paul? Kim's Corner.
Kim's
Yeah.
Corner. Yeah, Kim's Corner. Okay. I was going to say, I knew there was one that y'all always got breakfast at that y'all have talked about before, but I didn't know if that was Lake Jordan or where that was. So you like food, like fish. I love fried catfish. not a big seafood person. Don't do a lot of seafood. So I can't comment on that, but I'm a big catfish person. If it's not muddy, if it don't taste muddy, can't have it if it tastes muddy. All right. Well, thank y'all for taking time to talk with me today. By the way, I want to remind everybody, this is the only team, Josh, Chapple, Paul Davis, podium win. When I talk podium, I'm thinking about the Olympics. You got your gold, silver, and bronze medalists. You got to finish in the top 3 in the North, in the South, got to win in the South, got a podium finish in the ABT 100, and got an Angler of the Year in the ABT 100s. Only team in Alabama Bass Trail history to do it. If you can come up with another team, let me know. But in my math and my research, this is the only team that's ever done it. Congratulations, guys, on a great history on the Alabama Bass Trail. Looking forward to seeing you guys out in the South Division and on the ABT 100 this year.
Appreciate you having us.
Thank y'all. Have a great day.
Thanks for having.
Have a great day. All right, guys, there you have it. Josh, Chapple, Paul Davis, your 2024 Anglers of the Year on the Alabama Bass Trail 100. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be back in just a moment. Wrap this thing up and get you back out on the water. Y'all stay tuned.
It's the moment when everything is on the line and precision, power, and control make all the difference. A moment over 20 years in the making, anchored on loyalty, trust, and support that goes beyond all expectations. A relentless pursuit of perfection. All born from a revolutionary idea to help you rule the water. Power Pole.
Welcome back to the third and final segment of the Alabama Bass Trail podcast presented by Phoenix Boats. And I hate what I'm about to do. But unfortunately, some people have given me no choice. So I'm just going to say it. We have some housekeeping issues. This is the final warning to anyone who has not completed their DocuSign paperwork. It is beyond me and almost laughable at the links that we are having to go to get this paperwork completed. I don't know how to express that we send text messages to phone numbers you provide us. We send emails to emails you provide us. It is ridiculous that we have to send it to 4 different emails. We don't have the time to sit here and resend emails 4 and 5 times. We have jobs to do, and we cannot do those because we are literally sending out emails and text messages and emails and text messages. I don't want to tell you you will not fish if you don't have this completed. But that is what it is. If you can't sign your rules and you can't sign your terms and conditions and you can't fill out your W-9 form and you expect me to pay you money throughout the year, then you won't fish. Simple enough. It is not hard. It takes 3 minutes. We've done everything we can do to make it simple. We've reminded you to change emails. We've told you not to put 2 of the same phone numbers on your registration. We've told you not to put 2 email addresses on the same registration. I don't know what else we can do. At times, I feel like I'm at my wit's end because we can't get your paperwork back. So this is the final warning. So if your partner hadn't figured it out or you haven't figured it out, it's time to figure it out because we will not send any more out. We're all grown-ups. It must be completed, and it must be completed this week. That's all I'm going to say about it. I'm sick of addressing it. I'm sick of having people call and tell me I've got the wrong email address for them. I only have what you gave me. I promise you, I don't sit here all day and dream up fake phone numbers for text messages or fake email addresses. I don't have time for it. So fill it out or don't fish. That's how it works. You have to accept your rules, you have to accept the terms and conditions, and you have to fill out your tax paperwork. Otherwise, don't show up. Simple as that. Hate being that way, hate being that person, but literally it's what you have driven me to. And you've repeat offenders that I do this every year. Every year, I can give you a list of them. Every year. Stop it. Fill out the paperwork. Go look at January the 8th. That's the last time we sent it to you. I promise you it's there. All right, moving on. Done with that. Not talking about it. Not talking about it. Done. Anyway. Whew. Gets me a little unnerved. If you don't believe me, I'll give you just a little bit of a synopsis that happened on New Year's Eve. Most of you remember the deadline to assign your partners, December the 20th. Make changes, do all the things, December 20th. Pay your payment, make your changes, do that. Had a gentleman email me on New Year's Eve. Hey, I need to assign my partner. Didn't get a chance to do that. I said, I'm sorry. You'll either fish solo, but you can't assign a partner now. The deadline's passed. He said, well, I want my money back. I said, that's fine. Let me look at your registration. If you paid a deposit, I'll keep your deposit and I'll refund you the $1,000. Well, I have until December the 31st to get my refund. I said, yes, you do. And that is today. However, you paid a deposit and I will not refund that. You can fish solo or I can refund the $1,000. And that's what I did. I will tell you that that very angler emailed me the very next day and thanked me for upholding the integrity of our trail. That he respected that, didn't necessarily like the outcome of it, and will try to get back in next year and will complete his information on time. So if you want us to present you a trail that has integrity and that goes by what we say we're going to do, we need you to do the same thing. Okay? Enough. All right. We are 4 days away from the Alabama Bass Trail 100 on Gunnersville, Scottsboro, Alabama at Goose Pond. Can't wait. Takeoff is scheduled for 7 a.m. We will be live on the water from 7 until 11, and you can find that on all of our social media channels. Alabama Bass Trail 100 Facebook page, Alabama Bass Trail Facebook page, on the Alabama Bass Trail TV YouTube channel, as well as alabamaBassTrail100.org. Click on live and click live on the water. You can tune in on all of those different channels from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. on Saturday, January the 18th. We look forward to seeing you there. Please post your comments. Let us know you're tuned in. Let us know any questions or comments you want us to pose to the anglers. We'll be happy to do that. And then right around the corner, 25 days, Alabama Bass Trail North Division on Smith Lake in Jasper, Alabama. Before you start calling, yes, the meeting is mandatory. Yes, you must attend. If you don't fish. Simple enough. This is 12th year. Shouldn't have to have this conversation. It is the way it is. Then we are 39 days away from Alabama Bass Trail South Division, Lake Martin, down in Alexander City. The meeting is on Friday night at CAC at the Betty Carroll Graham Center. Again, 225 boats. Looking forward to that. Blast off taking off around 7 o'clock. Each of those February tournaments. Weigh-in will start at 3 o'clock. 4 to 5 hours of live coverage on those tournaments. Looking forward to it. You'll find it on all the social media channels. So, I hate to end a podcast with that, but I much rather end a podcast with it than start a podcast with it. I hate being frustrated like that, but it has been probably the worst this year than it's ever been, honestly. But that does it for this week's podcast. I want to thank Josh Chapple, Paul Davis for spending time with me today. They are your 2024 Alabama Bass Trail 100 champions, your anglers of the year. Thank you for tuning in. thank you for sharing our podcast. Our numbers are growing. We appreciate that. Please make sure that you're sharing it to your friends and other fishing fanatics out there. Subscribe, rate, and review the show on all of your favorite podcasting apps. Remember, hug your family. Give your pet an extra treat. Their lives are so short, so make sure that you take care of your pets. Be kind. Be kind until you can't be kind anymore. And then have a little small snap like me. Let the countdown to spring start. We are just over 65 days until March the 20th when spring officially starts. Looking forward to that. But for everyone else, you guys have a great day. Have an awesome week, and peace out.
Thanks for listening to the Alabama Bass Trail Podcast. To learn more about the Alabama Bass Trail, make sure and visit alabamabasstrail.org.